Everybody, it's Mad Master here. I'm doing another video tonight, and this was prompted by the recent news about Al Pacino having a kid with a woman 54 years his junior, and the internet reaction, of course, was outrage and shame. Of course, there are people that did defend him too, but and there was no prefrontal cortex kind of crap thrown in because a woman is 29 years old. Of course, someone might try to use some kind of biological thing to say something or whatever. But anyways, which I think is ridiculous and redundant. So this kind of prompted me talking about this. And this is kind of just goes into some personal attitudes that I have towards things. And this is, I'm going to probably be talking about more of this stuff and what went into this whole narrative that I have now in the future, in future videos. But I'm just going to start and just say that I was a late bloomer as far as, dating goes. And one of the things that there was a lot of things that crippled me from getting anywhere with it. Now, I had my first date when I was almost 16, and that's not that late, that's not super late, but the way that I handled those situations was very, very different than I would ever handle it right now if I were to go back into my, my body back then, or, things like that. Because I guess, I would want to say that I was very needy and desperate and depressed and obsessive about, oh, a girl likes me, she's my wife, and that's why I got into a lot of the stuff I have, like the Manosphere stuff over the years, because I was trying to quell that side of myself that was so clingy and needy and desperate and depressed and weird about all that stuff, and I hated that part of myself, so I rebelled openly against that, and I still do. I'm still in that phase, I guess you'd say. It doesn't mean I'm going to be some super player or something. Obviously, there's certain things that have happened that have not been good. And I'll just say, it's been challenging, to overcome a lot of those obstacles that I had when I was a young person, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. And one of the reasons why I think there's a very complicated reason why I'm so defensive and obsessive about this whole, when people talk about, oh, this guy's dating this girl that's 20 years younger, it's so terrible and problematic and all this stuff. Or, I was told that I should never have any biological children or it's always suggested to me that I shouldn't, or because of, because I'm too old to do it or whatever, or I'm getting to that age where I shouldn't be thinking about that or whatever. People try to imply things, even years ago, years back, there was someone that said that. And then I later dated women that were, or at least, one of them that was a long-term relationship that I had where she wanted kids and she was much younger. So it's oh, well, you're going to tell me that? Maybe you don't believe that I can get to that position where I would have a child, with someone. Maybe you don't believe me because of my past or my background or whatever. So I just don't, that's why, I get very defensive about this stuff because I don't like this notion. This happened the other day too. There was a big argument about why don't I like girls my age or something like that. I'm and it's very complicated. So for one, I'm going to give some background about why I don't. Because for one, the way that I've met women in the past, a lot of times was online. And, that was a situation all its own. If you have the majority of women that you meet that you're in relationships with online, it's going to be a shit show, especially in previous years, because there's so much deceptiveness or deceit online. and so much, so many like convoluted kind of situations that make things more difficult. I'm just going to say that, so what would happen usually is, I would talk to someone, get, they seemed cool and they had some good pictures and stuff. And I'm like, wow, cool. Go meet up with them. And honestly, like the women, they are usually younger too. I mean, these dates that I've had, I mean, all of them were younger. I mean, for the, all the time, even the last date I had, which was a while ago, she was 22, and I wasn't like into that. I'm not into like that age bracket as much, I'll just say. I mean, I'm open to it for fun, whatever, but I'm not like obsessed of like some of these guys, like 18 to 25 and then that's it. No, I'm not like that, but it's like that was fine. But the thing is every time I go on these dates, I feel there's something off a lot of these dates. Obviously I've had relationships too from these dates, but there's something off. The girl usually is, and maybe that's because of my weight, they're usually a pretty hefty weight that they try to hide and try to do the overhead photo thing or old photos or whatever. And I think the more older women that are older have, not only the ones that are quality have higher expectations for my career, my professionalism, blah blah blah, but the ones that are open, have, they are relying on online dating, not relying, but ones that take it seriously are more problematic, are more troubled, to say the least, as far as the women that are older. I mentioned earlier, like in an earlier video, there was like this girl that I keep seeing on these dating apps, and she has like all this junk on her face, like these like some kind of warts or something. And I'm like, you can call me superficial, but I can't have sexual desire for someone that looks like that. I apologize to anybody like in my family that says, why don't you want to date? You're so shallow for not wanting to date a 400-pound woman with warts on her face. Okay, well then you date a man with 400 pounds and warts on his face. How about you walk the walk instead of talk the talk? So that is usually what the case is that there's like this elevated thing with women that are around my age where they're already done it all. I don't mean like the body count, I'm not talking about that. They've had a career, they've had kids, all this stuff, and I'm just living in a bachelor apartment at this age and still wearing Misfits shirts and stuff like that, like in this video, so I'm not developed in the same way as women my age are. In a certain way, I'm behind, in a certain respect. I'm behind. Am I behind enough to date a 22-year-old? I don't know about that, but I'm behind. My career isn't exactly ideal. I didn't go to a 4-year college. I'm not exactly the most social person a lot of the time, even though I've tried to challenge myself to do that stuff, etc. So for people to expect me to meet a woman my age, and that I would get along with and be attracted to, it's like looking at a needle in on a planet Jupiter, if the planet Jupiter was all solid, is what I mean. It's ridiculous. And so another reason, I'm not trying to give my reasons why I date, why I'm focused on younger women, which it's been exaggerated a little bit by my own words sometimes, I admit it, but like just to shock people and stuff. But at the same time, because I like to shock people too a little bit, I like to shake things up. So as people who know me know, another reason, I'm trying to think about that reason is, there's a lot of reasons. So I mean, oh yeah, you look outside here in this town, it's a college town. it's definitely that needle in the haystack if I wanted to date a 40-year-old or something, or 45-year-old or whatever. It's definitely more rare to meet ones that are single, especially in this town. If you're at that age bracket in this town, you're going to have a more established life, usually, not all the time. So it's like, I'm not into drugs, I'm not into alcohol that much. My life is chaotic to a certain extent, because of various challenges that I've had. I mean, I'm not gonna show you my apartment right now. Oh, it looks, but it's not looking so great. I'm cleaning it right now. That's why I'm doing this video, is to kind of wake myself up to clean it more. But it's like my life, I have bad habits, watching stupid YouTube videos and stuff. I have some bad habits, and I don't have a professional blah, blah, blah thing for my age. I'm not really fit into that. A relative told me that's why women that are younger are attracted to me more, because I said something about that, kind of a humble brag years ago. He's like, oh, it's because you don't have a career. It was like, I started thinking about this, and he has a point, and I understand his point, So I don't have this like established, oh my God, that's not good. It's just one of my 20 guitars. It fell on the side. It's fine. Because anyways, I'm gonna maybe cut that out. Forget about that. Most of my guitars, this is like a cheap guitar anyways. This is like a cheap one that I bought. I have a bunch of guitars. I do take care of a lot of them. So anyways, this is a stupid thing that I'm gonna probably cut this part out, but please cut this part out. So yeah, I don't have an established career. I don't have a good history. My longest relationship was 8 months. That was the last relationship I was in, by the way. And I'm kind of isolated in some ways. I work a job with people that are, a majority of people at my job are 50s women in menopause. There's one woman that's around my age, and she just got married, So this whole notion that I have to date women around my own age, just fucking, and and maybe I like to exaggerate and like to push buttons and say, yeah, 21, man, that's perfect, prefrontal cortex not developed, man, stuff like that. I'm just, of course, I'm messing around. I like to push the edge, the limit a little bit, but it's like, that's not what it's about for me. It's more about like, the fact of the matter is, most of the women around my age that are available, I'm not into. And you can say I'm shallow and superficial because I don't want this, usually whatever type of woman. It's just rare. I mean, I have a friend, when I was, living with him, who hadn't had a date like 2 years or something, and he was like, he had all these criteria and wouldn't date under a certain age. It's like, dude, you're limiting yourself. People say that I'm limiting myself. I think you're limiting yourself if you go only a couple years younger and above or whatever. I think that's worse, because there's just for sheer volume, less of them around. Now, I realize it's an uphill battle for me, as far as getting my confidence back up to where it was, because of, things that have happened in the last several years. And things that have happened to me, which, I'll go into in future videos too, because they're pretty bad. But it's, it's one of those things that, you think about it. And, I don't really care about that. Now, why is this Al Pacino thing trigger this? I don't know, because there's always the same comments about, it's terrible, it's so problematic, and it's not as bad because she is 29, so people are just saying it's selfish. Now the kid will most likely like have a nanny and a some type of caretakers, maybe even male role model caretakers. Who knows, if Pacino dies, he'll be fine. I mean, people are acting like it's the end of the world because a rich guy got a woman knocked up and he's like old. I mean, who cares? But yeah, I mean, as far as the whole notion that I'm too old to one have biological children with a much younger woman, or if I choose to do that, or I'm too, I'm barking up the wrong tree by trying to trying to go after younger women or something. It's like it's disproven by my own history, friends' history, and just general life. I know there's a member of my own family that had who had kids when he was 46. I know of a guy who was not rich, had a kid when he was 62. I've known people around, and it's not a commonplace thing. No, it's not as common, but it's not like it's impossible. It's just takes a little more work if I really want to do that. And yeah, I don't really care about this notion that there's women that are off limits because some arbitrary societal thing, not a law, not even like scientifically law. Like they talk about the prefrontal cortex crap and all that. No, because they're just wanting to like have some type of excuse for like shaming people for having these types of relationships. Now that doesn't mean I'm going to go after 23-year-olds like exclusively or something by saying that. I'm just saying that it's foolish. King Diamond, I've mentioned him before, his wife, there's some questionable circumstances that they met upon, that you can say, or Macron for that matter, the president of France, a similar situation. Like they say, I'm not trying to allude to King Diamond, I'm just saying, especially in Macron's situation, oh, we never did anything before I was 18. I don't believe that, first of all. Was he groomed? I guess, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if someone's still with someone like decades later, where they must have been groomed really well. You got to think about that in the sense of the word, what that means. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of messed up to say that. And I have a friend that has a similar situation. I think he was somewhat young. This is Drano, by the way. It's not any kind of. It's kind of gross. Drano got on this shirt and it's just been on that ever since. It was like I thought it was bleach, but I guess it was Drano. It's kind of messed up. I'm still wearing this shirt. But anyway, I don't really care. So, yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't like the notion that people put me down or want to question this whole thing because, for one, I don't know what my life will entail in the future. I mean, it's not like I've been exactly seeking things out lately. I haven't really been, like I did my video months back, I haven't really been doing much. I really want to get my own stuff together before I partake in more of that stuff, which is a dubious goal because it'll never be together, really. So I may as well get some things tidied up a little bit and cleaned up and fixed, and a couple of new habits formed, and then go at it, But yeah, this whole concept, I don't know. I'm not I'm not like one of my cousins that got married and has 3 kids, and one of them's graduating from high school and has a kid of their own and blah, blah, blah. I'm not that person. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for disappointing people. I really am sorry for being who I am, and the main thing and being a disappointment in that area, I apologize. I'm sorry. I just the fact of the matter is, I mean, if I was more delusional and more desperate, I'd be with someone, certainly. I've had those situations where you're with someone and you're just you don't feel 100% about it. And it's, to me, growing up how I did, if I don't feel 100% about it, I see it. It's like avoidant attachment style, whatever. I see it as a red flag, or a sign of disaster. I don't want to be in that situation. A lot of people, I know some people that are in these situations where they get drunk and they're like, I'm not even into her, man, or I'm not attracted. I only married her because if I get dumped, I won't feel as bad, or some stupid stuff like that. Who the fuck would say that about their wife? That's disgusting. That's awful. I don't want to have to say that about my wife, or my girlfriend. I mean, I've only been in love once for real, That was many years ago now. But yeah, I'm not gonna sit there and pussyfoot around, or joke, not joke. It's not a light thing. This is the truth. Like, this is how I feel about things. I'm not gonna sit there and say, oh, I have to live up to these standards that people are placing upon me. And I know, and I have this caricature in my head of what they really want. Some mediocre, 40-year-old woman that already has kids, and then, maybe not even have a kid, but I'll adopt them, and they want this whole mediocre looking, like I said, and probably mediocre personality, just like some, fat, just saying, woman that's like really caring, but like boring, and standard and stale. No, even the fat girls that I've dated are wild as hell. I mean, I almost got kicked out of the movie theater, during what's that movie? Midsummer, I'm not gonna settle for some boring person. And maybe this sounds like so sexist and so shallow. My God. Okay, well then you go just pick someone up off the street. Then go ahead. If you're gonna judge me on my preferences and tastes and what I want and what I desire. Now, granted, I will give them a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt than I used to, because I was kind of more like, I was a little more entitled. Now I'm like, well, I deserve what I get. If I try really hard, I can get someone at least decent, I think that's been proven the case. I remember 2011, where I was really going at it at the online dating game, and I had like 3 or 4 dates a month for like for a good segment there, like at least a couple months. At least like 3 months, maybe not 3 or 4, but like 2 to 4 dates a month. I never got that good, of course. I'm saying, like, I remember the first time, like, this girl said, "Oh, I'm a model." I'm like, damn. And I didn't really get along with her. I had the date with her, but I was like, that my confidence just went up through the roof. This girl's a model. And then my next girlfriend, which came about a couple months later, had done modeling too. And it's not a big deal, but I'm just saying, like, for me, how I felt about myself, my self-esteem being so low, a model. It's like, I dated a model. And it wasn't even my preferred like modeling kind of type that I, whatever want to call it, but yeah, it was quite a statement. Well, a person a couple years ago might have saw one of my other girlfriends or might have seen me single and say, "There's no way this guy could ever date someone that had modeled before. What a doofus," Yeah, maybe that's the case, But we all have different tastes and beliefs and narratives that we live in, So that's my whole thing with this, is like, I don't think that people have the right to judge people for what they choose as an adult. 18 plus. I don't mean 25 or 30 when your prefrontal cortex is fully developed, as people are using more and more in these conversations, which is very erroneous, and change the law, And I was called a predator because I was 24 and my first girlfriend was 19. More recently, like, I commented that on Facebook. I dated a girl when I was 24. I was 19, and now someone called me a predator. I'm like, what? I'm 24. My prefrontal cortex wasn't developed, and neither was hers. Were we raping each other? It's like, these conversations are so stupid. These woke idiots that are saying all this stuff. I think they're kind of devouring themselves, just like people are saying. But anyways, yeah, I don't believe in this narrative, this concept about this is going to be probably an unedited audio video because I'm running out of space on my phone again. So pardon me doing that. But yeah, I don't buy into these narratives. I'm gonna probably date the next girl that I date. 100% chance that she's gonna be younger than me. Just the way it goes nowadays. 100% chance, not a 90% chance. 100. Now, how much younger? That remains to be seen. But that's the truth. That's just the way it goes. That's just the way my life works. It doesn't work any other way. It's traditional, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But it's just not. There's no way that I'm going to meet someone that is my age, and that's not a complaint. That's another thing. So another thing about it is, it's just, it's just part of our biology. We like shinier, younger looking, things that are in front of us, and sexist and terrible and looksism and ageism and yeah, it is. Well, sit and cope about it. How about you cope? Sit and cope and think about how terrible it is that I have this traditional view on things. It's not even a view, it's an urge. It's just part of my biology. That's why I didn't get along with some of these girls as much, because I just wasn't as into them physically as I could have been. That's just a fact. And sometimes the chemistry was off. There's certain other things too. I remember another girl I dated in 2011. It was a pretty good year for me and women, actually. Probably one of the best. 2011 through 2013 was like the best time that I had, pretty much, for that stuff. At least the online dating was a success. I was just like, I didn't feel anything, and I got really depressed about it. And that's what happens. It's like you get depressed. You're like, why can't I feel these things? Oh, she looks, she just doesn't have the looks that I like. She doesn't have the stuff, the whatever you want to call it. When they do, that's great. And that's happened to me too. I'm like, oh, I'm in love with you, Oh, look, fade. Not till you're like fucking 80 years old. You can still see a person's facial structure, maybe 90. Person's facial structure, if you're into their facial structure, you're into them for a long ass time. So, God, this is just such an exhausting video to do in a way. It's just so stupid. So people that say all this stuff, and this is kind of, peeling back behind the curtain of why I talk about this stuff so much, is because, to me, yes, I have no choice I don't have a choice. It's not a choice for me. It's not like preference, like, a sexual preference. It's literally no choice. Not that I mind that it's not a choice, but literally no choice. If you go outside in this town, tell me how many 40-year-old single women are walking around, right? Or 45-year-old or whatever. Tell me. Not that many. But single 22-year-old women, single 25, 28, 30, even 34-year-old women, they work for the big tech companies here or something, or millennials or whatever. Yeah, everywhere. So anybody that wants to have the gall to attack me for my preferences, attack me for things that I have nothing, actually, a lot of times I have no choice, is what I'm trying to say. They can bring it on. I'll fight. I'll physically fight. I'll physically fight. Maybe. If they wanted to, like, you're a pervert, you're a predator. You don't want to date a girl that's 45 years old and is like 500 pounds and is in a wheelchair and is like depressed all the time. You don't want to date that. And I'm using a caricature, of course, but like, it's just people act like this, like some cardinal sin that I like younger women. Oh my God, what a horrific, tragic, terrible. And this is one thing about it that is another factoid about this whole situation, is that I am not the type of guy that's like in it for control and all this shit. A lot of times they end up controlling me, these younger women and stuff. So no, it's a fact. Okay, like my last girlfriend, she's like, we should do this, we should do that. Okay, it's not like I was in control. Power dynamics. No, it's not. I think it should be more equitable, honestly. Like sometimes I have been a little too passive and like avoidant. That's what it is. So that's another thing. Like the stereotypical like age gap relationship is this guy's so established, he's controlling his little girl that doesn't know what she's thinking or he influences. No, that's not how it is for me. I just have I get sprung, you know, like Sir Mix-a-Lot once said. That just shows how old I really am. I know where Sir Mix-a-Lot is. You know, I get sprung, and that's what I like, you know. And sometimes they grab me, even if I'm sprung, you know, or when I'm sprung, you know, they grab me. But I don't, you know, push things at, you know, to a certain level or anything like that. That's what I'm saying. It's like the stereotype about the older man, younger woman thing doesn't really apply to me in the same way as, you know, other guys that might be into it. I'm not like this red-pilled Andrew Tate guy that's like, well, women should follow what the man says. You know, I don't say that kind of stuff. So it's kind of ridiculous to put that. I used to think that that's all what all the older men were about, because my first girlfriend was stolen from a much older guy from me. So anyways, that's about all.